forest fires, dust storms, sea spray, some pollen and spores is there. Mainly natural sources of air pollution is natural processes can release pollutants into the atmosphere without human involvement. These sources may be seasonal or sudden, but can significantly affect air. Okay, these sources are seasonal, maybe seasonal or sudden, but significantly affect air quality. Okay, like a volcanoes. In this volcanoes releases ash, sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, and other gases is there. Some ash particles increases particulate matter in the air. Can causes short-term or regional or global climate effects is there. Second one is the forest fires. Forest fires means produces carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and smoke particulates. Reduced air quality and visibility may occur naturally due to lighting or extreme heat. Okay. Third one is the dust storms. What is the dust storms? Dust storms means these dust storms strong winds lift soil and fine particles into the air, increases particular matter 10 and particular matter 2.5 levels. Okay, common in dry and desert areas. Okay, fourth one is the sea spray. What is the sea spray? Ocean waves releases salt particles into the atmosphere, contribute to natural particulate matter, more common in coastal areas. When I went to the sea area, our skin is purely accumulated with the salt particles. That is the sea spray. Okay. Uh, Fifth one is the pollen and spores. Pollen means released by plants, trees, fungi, and microorganisms. Can use allergic and respiratory problems. Often seasonal is there. Okay. Uh, that next slide is the anthropogenic sources. Anthropogenic sources are mainly anthropogenic sources are human-made activities that releases harmful substances into the air. These are the major contributors to modern air pollutions, especially in urban and industrial areas. First one is the in this first one is the transport. Mainly anthropogenic source is the transport emission. Transport means emission from cars, buses, trucks, and motorcycles and ships. Major pollutants are carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxide, uh, and some hydrocarbons is there, and particular matter is there. One of the main causes of urban smog is there. Uh, Second one is the industries. Mainly industries, factories and manufacturing units releases smoke, chemicals and gases. Common pollutants are sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide and particular matter is there. Includes cement, steel, chemical and textile industries there. Okay. Third one is the power plants. Power in these power plants, main burning of coal, oil, or natural gas to generate electricity releases carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide and nitrous oxides is there, and ash particles also is there. Major contribute to air pollution and climate change. Okay. Some fourth one is the domestic heating. We use we use that uh, domestic life. We use that burning wood, coal, kerosene, or biomass for cooking and heating. In this, produces mainly smoke, carbon monoxide, and some fine particles is there. Common in rural area and low income households also is there. The fifth one is the last one, the agriculture. Agriculture it means crop residues burning releases smoke and particulates. Uses of fertilizers and pesticides releases ammonia and other chemicals is there. Dust from plowing and harvesting increases particular matter. Okay. Uh, and the next slide is the vehicular pollutant is there. Mainly vehicular pollutants is the carbon monoxide, nitrous oxides, and hydrocarbons, lead and particulates is there. We discuss about the one by one. What is the vehicular pollutants? Mainly vehicular emissions are a major anthropogenic sources of air pollution, especially in urban areas. They originated from the consumption of petrol, diesel and other fuels in internal combustion engines. Okay, the compositions of pollutants depends on fuel type, engine condition, driving patterns, and emission and control systems. In this first one is the carbon monoxide. Mainly formation of carbon monoxide produced by incomplete combustion of carbon containing fuels, common in petrol engines and especially under poor engine turning and traffic conjunctions, cold starts. Okay, mainly characteristics of carbon monoxide is colorless and odorless and highly toxic gases is there and has strong affinity for hemoglobin. Okay, uh, some health effects is occurs with carbon monoxide, mainly from carbon carboxyhemoglobin is there in blood and reduces oxygen carrying capacity. Main symptoms of headache, dizziness and fatigue. In severe cases unconscious or death is occurred. Okay. Some environmental impact are contributes indirectly to ground level ozone formation is there. Second one is the nitrogen oxides. What is the nitrogen oxide? Mainly major forms are nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide is there. Formation is produced when nitrogen and oxygen react at high temperature inside engines. Um, More common in diesel engines and high-speed vehicles. Okay. What is the health effects with nitrous oxide? Main health effects are irritates respiratory tract and causes bronchitis and reduces lung function, aggra- aggravation of asthma. Okay. Mainly environmental effects with nitrogen oxides is there key. Some photochemical smog is there, pressure of acid rain and ground level ozone is there. Third one is the hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons sources are unburned or partially burnt fuel. It means unburned or partially burnt fuel, evaporation of fuel from fuel tanks and carburetors, and refilling process is there. Main types are methane, non-methane hydrocarbons is there, volatile organic compounds is there. Okay. Some health effects are is there. Some hydrocarbons are toxic or carbo carcinogenic is there. Example, benzene linked to leukemia. Some environmental effects is there, react with nitrogen oxides in sunlight to form photochemical smog and ground level ozone. Okay. Fourth one is the lead. Main sources are lead with previously added to petrol as treated tetraethyl led to improve octane rating released in exhaust as lead particles. Health effects is some health effects is there. Highly toxic heavy metal is there. Effects is nervous system with lead. Some health effects are nervous system damaged and brain development in children is there. Causes are learning disabilities and behavioral problems is there. Kidney damage is there. Okay. Some current status is the lead petrol is banned or passed out in most countries. Still persists in environment due to fast emissions is there. Last one is the particular matter is there. In this particular matter, PM10 means particulars less than or 10 micrometers is there. PM225 means particulars less than or equal to 2.5 micrometers meters, it is the more dangerous for atmosphere and human health. Sources in vehicles are diesel exhaust. Major sources is diesel exhaust and brake and tire wear and road dust respirations. Okay. Main composition is there. Some composition means shoot carbon particulates and metals, organic compounds, sulfates and nitrates is there. Health effects is with some health effects is occur with particular sorry parent deep into lungs and causes are asthma, chronic bronchitis and lung cancer. Some cardiovascular disease is there. Environmental effects are reduced visibility. Climate effects is there. Some control of vehicular emissions is advanced note. Cytological converts into oxidized CO. It means CO2 reduces nitrous oxide is equal to N2 nitrogen. Uses of unleaded petrol means fuel injection system for efficient combustion. Electric and hybrid vehicles is there. Emission started is there. Bharat stage norms in India. Okay. Coming to the next slide. Primary pollutants is there. Primary pollutants are directly emitted and sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxides, and carbon monoxide and dust is there. We discuss about the one by one. Okay. Primary pollutants means primary pollutants are contaminants emitted directly into the atmosphere from identifiable sources. Unlike secondary pollutants like example ozone plants, they do not require atmosphere chemical transformation to exist in harmful form. So they often participate in such reactions after emissions is there. One is the sulfur dioxide. What is the sulfur dioxide means? Consumption of sulfur containing fossil fuels like coal, foreign soil. Okay. Second is the thermal power plants. Coming to the petroleum refineries, after that smelting of sulfide ores is there. Physicochemical properties are colorless gas with uh, peanut odor and highly soluble in water, oxidizes in atmosphere to form sulfates. Okay, some atmosphere chemistry is the sulfur dioxide plus OH is equal to H2SO4. Sulfuric acid formation is there, leads to information formation of secondary sulfates. Aerosols is there. Mainly health effects are bronchitis is there, aggravation of asthma, mucous membrane irritation. Environmental effect is there some with sulfur dioxide, acid rain formation, soil acidification is there, damage to crops and forests, some corrosions of buildings. Okay. Second one is the nitrous oxide, nitrogen oxides is there. Major forms of nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide is there. Major sources of high temperature combustion like automobiles, power plants, industrial boilers is there. Okay. Some formation of mechanism is thermal nitrogen monoxide formation with the nitrogen plus oxygen is equal to nitrogen monoxide, and atmospheric behavior like nitrogen oxide, nitrogen monoxide oxidate to nitrogen dioxide, particulate in ozone formation, uh, peroxylated nitrate formation, and nitric acid production is there. Mainly health effects are lung inflammation and reduces pulmonary functions, increased respiratory infection is there. Sorry. Some environmental impacts is there. What is that? Photochemical smog, acid position, eutrophication of water bodies is there. Some carbon monoxide is there. Sources of carbon monoxide: incomplete consumption of carbon-based fuels, vehicles, major sources in urban areas, biomass burning, and domestic heating is there. Chemical characteristics is there. some chemical characteristics like colorless and odorless, tasteless, and relatively stable in lower atmosphere. Toxicological mechanism is carbon monoxide, hemoglobin, carboxyhemoglobin is there. Affinity is 200 to 250 times generated than oxygen. Uh, Health effects. What is the health effects with nitrogen oxide, carbon monoxide? Tissue hypoxemia, headache, and nausea, cardiovascular tests, and high level exposure is death. Okay, atmospheric role is reacts with OH radicals. Okay, influences methane lifetime, indirectly affects ozone formation is there. Okay, fourth one is the dust. Dust means solid particles suspended in air emitted directly from sources. Mainly classification are PM10. It means less than or equal to 10 micrometers. PM 2.5, it means less than or equal to 2.5 micrometers. Uh, Ultrafine particles are less than 0.1 micrometers is there. Some sources are construction activities, mining and quarrying, and road dust restoration is there. Industrial emissions is there. Natural sources are is there. Composition is silicates and metals, organic carbon and black carbon is there. Some health effects are deep lung penetration and elaborate inflammation, cardiovascular morbidity, lung cancer is there. Environmental effects are visibility reduction and radioactive forcing, cloud condition, nuclear formation is there. Occupation, conceptual distinction, primary versus secondary pollutions are origin means directly emitted and secondary pollutants are formed in atmosphere. For example, directly emitted are sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrous oxide is there, dust is there. But in secondary pollutions are ozone and pan O3 and pan and H2SO4 is there. Control strategy in primary pollutants are emission reduction at sources. In control strategy, secondary pollutants are control pressures. Okay, advanced some important role of primary pollutants have precursors in atmospheric photochemistry, interaction with meteorological parameters like temperature inversion, wind speed is there, impact on oxidative capacity of the atmosphere, regulatory standards are is there, sources appointmented using respiratory modeling techniques is okay. Coming to the next slide. Secondary pollutants. What is the secondary pollutants? Secondary pollutants are emitted directly. They are formed in the atmosphere through complex chemical reactions involving primary pollutants. Under the influence of sunlight, moisture, and oxidates, okay, they are central to photochemical smog formation, acid dispersion, and secondary aerosol production is there. Ozone means ozone, transparent ozone means ground level ozone is harmful. Formation mechanism is the NO2 plus sunlight is equal to NO plus O and O2 combined with O but uh, O that is called to ozone is the created. Viewers react with nitrogen monoxide to prevent ozone destruction, allowing accumulations. Thus, ozone formation requires nitrogen oxides and volatile organic compounds, and sunlight is there. Some characteristics are strong oxidizing agent is there like major component of photochemical smog. Health effects are chest pain, reduced lung function, airway inflammation, aggregation of asthma. Okay, some environmental effects are there like crop yield reduction, damage to leaf tissues, and rubber cracking. Some climate forcing agent is there. Okay, second was that Peroxylite nitrated, it means PAN, short form of PAN, and chemical nature is the general formula is the RC, OONO2, and most common is the CH3, COO, Formation means the formed by reaction of work oxidation products like NO2 and in presence of sunlight. Example, aldehydes plus OH plus NO2 is called PAN. Okay. Uh, Mainly characteristics of thermally unstable, strong in irritant, and long atmospheric lifetime in color regions is there. Okay. Health effects are eye irritation, leech motor, and respiratory discomfort is there. Mainly environmental effects are toxic to vegetation, causes leaf glazing and silvering is there. Okay. Some sulfates is there. Precursors of sulfur dioxide means formation pathways are gas-based oxidation. It means SO2, OH, H2SO4, and oxidation-based oxidation is there. Some characteristics are there from secondary particulate matter and hygroscopic is there. Mainly environmental impacts are acid rain, soil acidification, and visibility reduction, and radioactive cooling effect is there. Health effects are fine particular inhalation and cardiopulmonary diseases there. I mean, nitrates are, it means NO3 aerosols. Okay, nitrates, nitrates are precursors of nitrogen oxides of some characters a major component of secondary particular matter 2.5. Okay. Semi volatile in nature. Some environmental effects are acid deposition and eutrophication of water bodies, visibility uh, impairment is there. Okay. Health effects are similar to other fine particulars, respiratory disease and cardiovascular stress is there. Some advanced atmospheric chemistry concepts are a role of hydroxyl radical. It means OH, known as the detergent of the atmosphere, and some controls activative capacity there, determines the pollutant lifetime. Photochemical smog mechanism is there. Secondary organic aerosols like VOC activation and contribute significance. Okay. Meteorological influence is there. Okay. Coming to the next slide. In this particular matter, dust, smoke, fumes, and mist and fog aerosols. Okay, particular matter refers to complex mixture of solid particulates and liquid droplets suspended in air. It includes both primary particles and secondary particles. Okay, primary particles is classified based on particles matter classified based on aerodynamic diameter, which determines atmospheric behavior and deposition in the respiratory tract. Types of particular matter. Coming to the types of particular matter, is the first one is the dust. In this, solid particles generated by mechanical process such as crushing, grinding, drilling, or wind action. Main sources of construction activities and mining and quarry, road dust respiration, and desert farms is there. Particle size are mostly coarse particles of PM10. Okay, size is PM10. A composition are silicates, carbonates, metal oxides, and soil minerals. Okay, health effects are upper respiratory tract irritation is there, and chronic bronchitis is there, and silicosis there. Second one is the smoke. Definition is the particles produced by incomplete combustion of carbonious materials like sources of biomass burning, forest fires, and diesel engines, and domestic cooking. Composition of black carbon. Soot means black carbon, organic carbon, and polyclinic atmospheric hydrocarbons is the characteristics are mostly fine particles like PM prime particle 2.5, strong light absorbing properties, impacts are climate warming, lung inflammation, and increased cancer risk is there. Some terms of definition means very fine solid particles formed by condensation of vapors, usually after volatilization from high temperature processes. Main sources of welding, smelting, metal processing, and industrial furnaces. Okay, characteristics are ultrafine particles and high metal content. Main health effects are metal fume fever and neurological toxicity. Okay. Fourth one is the mist. Definition means liquid droplets suspended in air formed by condensation or atomisation. Either sources are industrial spray processes, acid mist in chemical plants, and cooling towers is there. Composition are water droplets and acidic droplets is there. Health effects are eye irritation, respiratory discomfort, and corrosive damage is there. Okay. Fifth one is the fog. Fog means a dense collection of tiny water droplets suspended near the ground, reducing visibility to less than 1 kilometer. Formation is the cooling of air to dew point. Okay. High relative humidity. Types is radiation fog and advection fog and industrial smog type fog. Environmental interaction is the act as a medium for SO2 oxidation and nitrogen formation and on secondary aerosols production. Okay. Sixth one is that aerosols. Aerosols means general term of solid liquid particles suspended in air, including both natural and anthropogenic particles, is there. Types in aerosols are primary aerosols like dust, sea salt, and soot. Okay. Secondary aerosols, like examples are sulfates, nitrates, secondary organic aerosols is there. Some atmospheric atmospheric behavior like influence Earth radiation balances and act as cloud condition in nuclei and effective precipitation patterns is there. Climate effects are scattering aerosols, cooling effect, and absorbing aerosols are warming effect. Advanced in that secondary particular formation like SO2, NO, nitrogen oxide, hydroscopic growth is there. Optional optical properties is there. Source appointment like positive matrix factorization and chemical mass balance. Measurement techniques are gravitometric method and high volume samples. Okay. TEOM like tempered element oscillating microbalance and beta attention mode test is there. Okay. Coming to the next slide, effects on human. Mainly effects are human is the air pollution with air pollutants like gases plus particulate matters affect multiple organ systems. They depend on concentration, duration of exposure, particular size, particle size. 2.5 particle size 2.5 is the more dangerous and individual susceptibility and like children, elderly compatibility is there. Okay. Pollution such as PM 2.5 and nitrogen oxides and sulfur dioxide, sulfur oxygen and carbon monoxide, heavy metals, and major contributes to advanced and health outcomes. Respiratory diseases are mechanisms are fine particles to be penetrate deep into alveoli and trigger inflammation and oxidative stress, damage epithelial cells and impair mucolar clearance is there. Major conditions are asthma, chronic bronchitis and chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases is there, and lung cancer and reducing lung function in children. Long-term impact are impaired lung development, increased susceptibility to inflammation. Second one is the irritation. What is the irritation? Affected areas like eyes, nose, throat, and skin. Responsible pollutants are ozone, like O3, nitrogen oxide, and sulfur dioxide, and PAN, peroxylite peroxytyl nitrate. Okay, symptoms are burning sensation in eyes, throat irritation is, and coughing, sneezing, headache is there. Biological bases are irritants activate sensory nerve endings, stimulate inflammatory mediators is there. Okay, some third one is the heat and brain damage. Air pollutants is increasingly recognized as a synthetic, systematic risk factor, not only a respiratory hazard as cardiovascular effects like mechanisms, fine particular enter bloodstream, causes us systematic inflammation, endothelial dysfunction, and increased blood coagulability. Okay? Outcomes are hypertension, uh, atherosclerosis and arrhythmias and myocardial interaction is there and stroke is there. Yeah. Neurological effects are mechanisms are ultrafine particles cross blood and barrier induced neuroinflammation is there, promote oxidative stress, and outcomes are conjugative decline, increased risk of dementia, and impaired neurodevelopment in children, and increased stroke risk. Okay. Fourth one is that increased mortality. Air pollution is the major global health risk factor. Short-term exposure trigger acute heart attacks, asthma, expiration, and respiratory fails. Okay. Long-term exposures are increases all causes mortality, cardiovascular mortality, and lung cancer mortality. Vulnerable pollutions are children and elderly and pregnant women and people with pre-accelerating diseases there. Uh, and Pathophysiological mechanisms are oxidative stress, like excess reactive oxygen species and lipid peroxide and the DNA damage, systematic inflammation, elevated CRP, cytokinic releases, anatomic nervous system imbalance, and epigenetic modification is there. Okay, coming to the next slides, effects on animals. Okay? Contaminated fodder and fluorine, arsenic, lead poisoning. Okay. Air pollutants affect animals through inhalation, ingestion, and dermal exposure. Livestock and wildlife are particularly vulnerable due to continuous outdoor exposure and grazing behavior. Toxic substances can bioaccumulated and biomagnify across trophic levels. Okay. First one is the contaminated fodder. Mechanism is the air pollutants settle on grass, leaves, crops, and soils. Animals ingestion these pollutants through grazing. Common deposits pollutants are fluorides, heavy metals, sulfates and nitrates, and persistence organic pollutants there. Pathophysiological impact are entry through gastrointestinal tract, absorption into bloodstream, accumulation in bones, liver, kidneys, and fat tissues. It mainly affect our reduces milk yield, poor growth rate, and reproductive failure, and immunosuppression is there. Fluorine poisoning. Fluorine poisoning means emissions from aluminum smelters and phosphate fertilizer plants, bricks links, and coal consumption. Fluoride deposits on vegetation is ingestion by grazing animals. Uh, Toxicodynamics are fluoride accumulated in bones and teeth, replaces hydroxyl groups in hydro hydroxypated forms fluoropated. Clinical condition fluorosis are dental fluorosis, tooth discoloration, and enamel erosion. Skeletal fluorosis means in this bone thicknessing, and joint stiffness and lameness and reduces mobility. Livestock are highly sensitive. Okay, arsenic poisoning are sources are coal combustion, smelting operations, and pesticide residues contaminated groundwater. Toxic mechanisms are interfaces with cellular respiration, ATP production, insidious oxidative stress. Affecting animals are gastrointestinal distress and weight loss is there, neurological dysfunction and skin lesions, reduced fertility, chronic exposure leads to bioaccumulation in tissues. Okay, last one is the lead poisoning. Mainly sources of lead poisoning for industrial emissions, lead contaminated dust, and battery recycling units. Historical Historical leaded petrol residues. Entry routes are inhalation of contaminated dust, ingestion of via grazing. Okay. Toxicokinetics are binds to sulfhydryl groups of enzymes, disputes heme synthesis, and across blood-brain barrier. Clinic signs are neurological symptoms, convulsion and ataxia and blindness, anemia, kidney damage, reduces milk production. Young animals are more susceptible due to higher absorption rates and developing nerve system. Is there a systemic ecological implication are bioaccumulation, mainly toxic substances accumulated in animal tissue over time, and biomagnification is there. Concentration increases higher trophical levels. Herbivores, carnivores, and apex predators. Reproductive impacts are hormonal dispersion, embryo toxicity, the reduced hatchability in birds. Behavioral changes are reduced feeding efficiency, impaired predator advantages, and alternated mitigation patterns is there. Okay, coming to the next slides, effects on plants. Mainly effects of air pollution on plants is plants are highly sensitive bioindicators of air pollution because they are continuously exposed through stomal gas exchange and surface deposition. Pollutants affect physiological, biochemical, and structural process leading to reduced productivity and ecological imbalances. First one is the chlorophyll destruction. Mechanism are air pollution such as ozone, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, heavy metals enter those stomata and generated reactive oxygen species. A biochemical impact of oxidative degradation of chlorophyll pigments, inhibition of chlorophyll biosynthesis, and damage to chloroplast membrane is there. What is the result with air pollution? Chlorosis, yellowing of leaves, reduced pigment concentration, impaired light absorption efficiency. Molecular effects aspects are lipid perfectation of thylakoid membranes and alternated expression of photosystem related genes and dispersion of electron transport chain. Second one is the reduced photosynthesis. Direct effects are decreased chlorophyll to reduced light harvesting and stomatal closure to reduced uh, carbon carbon dioxide uptake and damage to photosynthesis. Pollutant specific impacts are strong oxidant and causes mesophile cell injury, and reduces carbon fixation rate is there. Sulfur dioxide in this sulfur dioxide converts to sulfates and bisulfates in cells, inhibits photosynthetic enzymes is there. Particular matter in this particular matter is deposits on leaf surface, block sunlight, and residuous gas exchanges is there. Physiological consequences are reduced carbohydrate synthesis, lower biomass accumulation, decreased crop yield is there. Yeah. Some leaf injury is there, like visible symptoms are necrosis, dead tissue patches, chlorosis means yellowing, bronzenic and stripping, leaf curling, and premature senses. Types of injuries: acute injury, short-term exposure to high pollutant concentration, sudden tissue damage is there. Chronic injury means long-term exposure to low levels, gradual reduction in growth and volatility. Um, Mechanist overview means entry pathways, pollutants called stomata, intercellular spaces, and mesophyll cells is there. Cellular response are antioxidant enzyme activation, sulfur dioxide dismutation, catalase, and peroxidase. Ecological and agricultural impacts are crop productivity, yield reduction, wheat, rice, soybean, and cotton is there. Forest ecosystems in this forest ecosystem increased sustainability to pests and diseases, reduced growth rate, and alternated species is there. Okay. uh, Leaf injuries occurred with some injuries as there. Coming to the next slide, plant symptoms. Air pollutants such as O3 and sulfur dioxide, nitrogen, and fluorides and particulate matter induced characteristics visible and physiological symptoms in plant. These symptoms are important for bioindication studies like environmental monitoring, crop damage assessment, and exotoxical evaluation. Okay, necrosis definition is a localized or widespread death of plant tissue appearing as brown or black dead patches. Is there causes are acute exposure to high concentration of ozone, sulfur dioxide, and fluorides and pan. Mechanism is oxidative stress and membrane lipid preoxidation, protein denaturation, and cellular dehydration, distribution of chloroplasts. Okay, types are intervenal necrosis between windshield, marginal necrosis are leaf edges, and tip burn is there. Second one is the chlorosis, yellowing of leaves due to loss or reduction of chlorophyll, mainly causes in heavy metals with mechanism inhibition of chlorophyll synthesis. Okay. Third one is the abyssation, premature shedding of leaves and flower or fruits. Okay. Epinasty is downward curling or bending of leaves due to unequal growth rates, often induced by ozone, ethylene, and sulfur dioxide. Okay. Cellular and biochemical basis are oxidative stress pathway means pollutant entry, harvest production, lipid pre-oxidation, protein oxidation, and DNA damage is there. Okay. Coming to the next slide, air pollutant monitoring. Air pollution monitoring is the systematic measurement, analysis, and interruption of air pollutant concentrations to assess air quality, identify sources, evaluate health risks, and ensure compliance with regulatory standards. It involves measurement of pollutions, trend analysis, composition with standards. Okay, first one is the measurement of pollutions. Uh, in this, major objectives are quantity, concentration of pollutants, and identify pollution hotspots, support epidemiological studies and regulatory compliance. Second one is the types of monitoring. Okay, sorry. Uh, Types of monitoring. In this, ambient air monitoring is there, indoor air monitoring, access exposure in homes, workplace, industries. Sources monitoring is there, like measuring emissions directly from um, chimneys and vehicle exhaust and industrial stocks. Okay. Third one is that pollutants commonly monitored particulate matter and so sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide, carbon monoxide, ozone, and lead and NS3. Okay, the measurement techniques. Some measurement technique is there. What is the measurement techniques? A particular matter, gravimetric method, air drawn through filter, freehand post weighing, and standard reference method. Okay, continuous methods are beta attenuation method and uh, tapered element oscillating microbalance is there. Gaseous pollutants is sulfur dioxide, UV fluorescence, nitrous oxides, and chemiluminescence, and carbon monoxide non-destructive infrared, and O3 UV photometry. Okay. E is the sampling approaches, active sampling, passive sampling, continuous automatic monitoring is a manual periodic smogging. Trend analysis evaluate temporal variations in pollutant concentrations, like time scales, hourly, daily, seasonal, and annual, and long term. Okay. Statistical tools are moving averages, regression analysis, and time series analysis, man-kind trend test, and seasonal decomposition is the purpose of trend analysis. Identify increasing and decreasing patterns, evaluate policy effectiveness, and assess meteorological influence is there. Forecasting future in air quality. Okay. Uh, Third one is the standard composition comparisons. Measured pollutant concentrations are compared with regulatory standards. As one of the air quality standards. Standards specify permissible limits for short-term exposures and long-term exposures. Okay, and long-term exposure means annual average. Example: WHO air quality guidelines, National Amendment Air Quality Standards is there. Okay, air quality index means air quality index converts pollutant concentration into a signal index number. General formula is the air quality index is equal to observed concentration by standard limit into 100. Categories typically included good and moderate, and unhealthy, very unhealthy, and hazardous. Okay. Compliance assessment is if concentration less than or equal standard and complement, and if concentration greater than standard is equal to non-complement area, used for environmental impact assessment, urban planning, and industrial permitting. Okay. Advanced sources of urban exposure assessment, remote sensing is there. Okay. Coming to the next slide, monitoring types, physicochemical and biological monitoring types is there. Air pollution monitoring methods are broadly classified into physicochemical monitoring and biological monitoring. Both approaches are complementary. Physicochemical methods provide quantitative pollutant concentrations, while biological methods such as ecological and biological impacts is there. In this physicochemical monitoring, measurement of pollutants using instrumental and analytical techniques based on physical and chemical principles. Main objectives are quantif- quantify pollutant concentration and compare with regular standards, and identify pollutant trends and support modeling and policy discussion. Uh, Mainly measurement principles are physical methods are gravitometric analysis and beta attenuation and light scattering and optical observation. Chemical methods are spectrophotometry, titration, and chromatography, and chemiluminescence and UV fluorescence is there. Pollutions are commonly measured in sulfur dioxide UV fluorescence, nitrogen oxide with chemical luminescence, and carbon monoxide NDRI method, and ozone UV photometry, and particular matters are gravimetric method. We use advantages are high precision accuracy is there, real time data is continuous monitoring is there, and regulatory complements assessment. Okay. Um, Coming to the next slide, sampling techniques in air pollution monitoring. Uh, Absorption, adsorption, condensation, and graph sampling. Okay. Air sampling is the collection of where are pollutants for qualitative and quantitative analysis. Proper sampling ensure representative, accurate, and reproducible results. Sampling techniques are selected based on nature of pollutants like gas, vapor, particulate. Okay, required detection limit and a duration. Detection limit, duration of monitoring, and analytical method is there. First one is the absorption method. Absorption method means principles are pollutant gases are absorbed into a liquid medium, whether they dissolved or chemically reacted. Gas liquid absorbance and chemical analysis equipment are bubblers and absorption tubes and air sampling. Okay. Second is the adsorption method. Adsorption method means pollutant molecules adhere to surface of solid absorbent material. A gas to solid surface to disruption to analysis. Okay. Common adsorption methods are activated charcoal, silica gel, aluminum, and tenax and molecular silver is there. Some applications are volatile organic compounds is there, hydrocarbons and pesticide vapors is there. Okay. Third one is the condensation method. Condensation method in principle, pollutants are collected by cooling air below dew point, causing vapors or particles to condensation. Gas, vapor, and cooling, and liquid droplets are collected. Mainly applications are water vapor measurement and aerosols particle counting and volatile vapors is there. Instruments using in condensation particle counters and cold traps and cyclogenic samples is there. Okay. uh, the fourth one is the graph sampling and last one is there. A single air sample is collected at a specific time and location. Represents in represents in international quality. Methods are gas sampling bags, searing and evicted quantities. Okay. Applications are emergency monitoring, accident investigation, and some order analysis there. Short-term exposure studies are okay. Advantages in this grabbing, simple and quick, useful for spot analysis. Limitations are not representative of long-term exposure and concentration may change during storages. Okay. Some advanced topics methods are sampling efficiency, isokinetic sampling, quality control is there. Okay. Uh, Today's session is time up. Session is closing. Thank you being with me.